If you are a product leader and wondering how to really leverage AI, I promise you that watching this entire video will be 100% worth it. I'm going to be walking you through 5 key use cases for how product leaders can be using Coworker to save them and their team at least 10 hours per employee per month. Now, if you don't know what Coworker is, it's a horizontal AI solution that truly does agentic AI extremely well. They're not just saying it, it's not just marketing fluff. I promise you, if you watch this, you'll see it. They basically do this by connecting with communication channels like a Slack, ticketing systems like Jira, a project management system, think like a Confluence, a Notion, Monday.com, coding and engineering stuff. They have GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, all the major ones. CRM, the major ones. They have HubSpot and Salesforce. Documentation, obviously they connect to Google Workspace, and I mentioned Notion before, and then meeting note takers is another big category of integration. A lot of important information is discussed during meetings. So that's that connection, that's the integration landscape. They've got a whole bunch more of integrations, but I'm not going to list them out. What do they do with this information? How do they make it useful? How do they make it so these agentic flows can actually be executed? They have this concept of OM1, organizational memory. Essentially, they're running all of these AI models constantly over that data set, organizing the data, contextualizing it, classifying it, do a whole bunch of fancy things in the background. That has an extremely, extremely rich, up-to-date context of your organization based on those connected data sources. So when you do go to ask a question, you do go to prompt it, you do ask Coworker to perform a task, create a document, create a Jira ticket, it has an incredible context in the background to be able to execute properly along that task. Now, another difference with Coworker is its ability to actually reason through questions, and I'll show you this in a second. But it's not just doing, if-then type workflow logic. It's actually reasoning through the question to be able to answer it properly and connect to the right data systems at the right time and find the right context. Now, in order to do that, it has to have a lot of tools at its disposal. It's not just doing semantic search or looking up this word or looking up this meeting summary. That's like basic. Obviously, they do that as well. They're also going a step further. Things like SQL queries they can run for quantitative analysis. Things like code review and reading code and understanding and translating code into the English language. Those tools underneath the hood is what really makes them stand out. Okay, so let's go through an example of how a product manager might use Coworker to build a product roadmap based on a whole bunch of connected systems and a whole bunch of up-to-date, relevant information. What are we working on this quarter within the product team? And give me some estimated timelines of release dates for the main projects in a table. Right, now historically you ask this question and most likely it's a product roadmap document. It might be in Notion, it could be in Google, it could be in this tickets assigned. There's a whole bunch of different places that you can go to. This is actually going to research the latest information, including the latest meeting, including the latest Slack messages about a particular roadmap item. And it's going to give you an up-to-date actual product roadmap that reflects team capacity, that reflects engineering capacity, reflects everything, right? It's going to go through and work through. So teams is one of the objects that Coworker tracks in the background. It understands who's on which team, what that team works on. Whenever they're mentioned, it's obviously a piece of data that they use to make decisions in the background on this stuff. They also track things like key decisions made during meetings, bugs, issues, tickets, problems discussed on meetings. All of these objects are what Coworker is really doing under the hood with this pre-synthesized information to be able to answer this question accurately. So you can see here it's going through Jira, it's going through documents, it's looking at product roadmap stuff, it's searching Slack to understand deployment schedules and relevant Slack channels and getting Jira tickets and reading more documentation and accessing organizational memory and synthesizing it all together, all in real time. This can take anywhere from 30 seconds to, if it's a really complicated prompt, a few minutes. However, the time that it saves you is, kind of ridiculous, right? This would be a 6-hour long analysis to get the most accurate up to date. And then it's static. You can't just come in and ask that question again and again. And what's the output? We see a team structure, we see a table, because I asked it to deliver this into a table. We see estimated release dates, we see which projects they are, we see tickets associated with it, strategic priorities, we see insights, and then a whole bunch of sources considered that are linked down the bottom. So if you're a PM and you want a central location for everyone to access the product roadmap that is kept up to date naturally, there's no, we need to go and edit a document. It's all across every connected system, meetings, Slack channels, everything. This would be an ideal tool. This next use case is for product managers to have the ability to prioritize their product roadmap properly with real data across multiple connected systems and then tying that back to revenue opportunity for the business. We both know that that is a tough thing to do across multiple systems. Salespeople have calls where prospects mention things. There's onboarding calls, there's existing customer communications, there's Slack channels, there's email, there's phone calls, there's everything, right? Very difficult to grab all that information, make sense of it, prioritize it, and link it back to key objectives of the business. Coworker can help with that. Can you summarize the last 90 days of sales calls, customer onboarding calls, and POC calls, and give me the top 5 integrations that we should be prioritizing? Rank them by the number of times they were mentioned on calls and their expected revenue impact. So we've given a time frame there, 90 days, multiple different calls. This will go into Slack to get context and email and a whole bunch of other things as well. Prioritization, the number of times they're mentioned is usually pretty important. When I said I want to look at expected revenue impact, it's actually going to understand HubSpot. For us, it's the number of employees that dictates revenue impact. So it's going to do that research as well and relay that information. And then it's going to come back with a response and an answer, and essentially your prioritized product roadmap for whatever business that you're in. And there you have it. So 90 days of sales calls. It's ranked number 1 down to number 5. Ranked it by a number of mentions, high revenue impact down to medium, some key use cases. And again, I can go and talk further to this, further investigate, look at whichever customers this will actually affect, and everything is linked down the bottom in terms of sources as well. I'm not going to lie, this one is kind of a game changer. If you're a sales guy out there, if you're a customer success person out there, you will understand the level of productivity you'll get from this, especially working in a high growth like startup type environment or an environment with a whole bunch of new products that constantly get updated, feature releases, etc. Okay, this one is to break down the barrier between anyone in the organization and the engineering team. Everyone knows the engineering team is a black box. Everyone knows if you ping an engineer, they shouldn't really get back to you fast, but they want to, and they waste a whole bunch of time. They're super expensive resources. They should not be spending time in Slack. They should be spending time coding and making the product better. How do we break down that barrier? Well, Coworker integrates with GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, the major sort of coding platforms, and has the ability to go and read, understand code, bring it back into organizational memory, and then link all of that understanding to key business objectives, to customers, to whatever the use case is, right? So you are basically getting a natural language view into the code base as a salesperson, as a customer success person, as a support person, as an operations person, and it will tell you exactly how things work down to the line of code. So massive information silo breaking down moment here. Very, very useful. We'll go through a specific use case. Can you help me understand how our Salesforce integration works? Be as technical as you wish, as this will be consumed by engineers. All right, so it's going into the reasoning steps. Again, we're thinking about this question. It has to understand what I've asked, where to go first, and where to look, and how much context to retrieve from outside sources. So right now it's gone into GitHub. It's reading ERD documentation. It's reading a whole bunch of other stuff in Slack and GitHub and gathering that context. And here's the output, right? I asked it to be technical. I could also ask it to be, super basic and keep it high level and sales terminology and all this sort of stuff. But as you can see, it goes into query methods, it goes into data access, it looks at the entities that we have access to within Salesforce, whole bunch of key relationships and queryable or fully queryable. Again, we can dive deeper on this. It's natural language. I can ask more things. It's given me, it looks like endpoints and a whole bunch of technical information because I asked it to give me that, because it's going to be consumed by engineers. So again, doesn't just rely on documentation, doesn't rely on documentation to be up to date and kept up to date. It's looking at meetings, it's looking at Slack, it's actually looking at code. That's one of the most important parts. And this really breaks down information silos within a business. And this is specifically for product and engineering. There are use cases across the board. Now, this one isn't specific to PMs or the product leaders or product team. This is actually applicable to basically everyone in the organization. Everyone's busy, everyone's using Slack, everyone misses things, everyone misses action items. So this can be a task or an agent that can be scheduled on a repeated basis and can be used by anyone in the organization, but it is super useful for product leaders and the product team in general because they are very busy with multiple action items and small steps and little changes and all this stuff. So tell me the action items that I have missed on Slack in the past 7 days. Now, this is super useful. It goes back obviously to Slack, goes to a whole bunch of messages, goes through channels. Now, the Slack integration, while everyone can say I have a Slack integration, the level of depth of Slack integration is actually super important here. So not only are they looking at public channels, they're looking at private channels where the coworker bot is enabled. Private DMs, again, permissioning and security has all been taken care of. I can't access someone else's private DMs, for example. So it's ranked my action items by high priority. There's a whole bunch of like customer stuff in there. There's support things. There's medium action items. Again, I can configure this to rank it however I like. I could give it to me in a table. But you can see there's a whole bunch of, high priority things and 15 action items in total that I have potentially missed. So I would go in there. I can also schedule this agent. This is where it gets super powerful because now we're getting automation across the board. I can schedule this agent to start on a specific date, end on a specific date. I can send it weekly, daily, whatever it is. Let's do weekly. We'll start it from this week. And then sharing wise, I can get it to send me a Slack message directly. I can send it to email. I can even do it to a public channel as well. So now we're getting automation across the board. Slack is one example. What about missing emails is another example, right? This is where we start to really, really leverage these agentic flows across the board, across systems to be able to be better and more productive in our work. Now, this is the final one. Again, this could be applicable across functions, across job roles or titles. I'm going to use one for the engineering and the product team. This is for preparation of meetings. So prepare me for X meeting. It could be a sales meeting. It could be a customer meeting. It could be a QBR with a customer, whatever it is, right? It's going to prepare you. It's going to do research. It's going to give you as much information as you possibly need and then dictate the content that it provides you depending on the prompt. So pretend I am one of the engineers who's heavily involved in presenting status update reports, status updates, report progress updates during team meetings. Can you prep me for the next iteration of this meeting? I will want to celebrate wins on the team, progress of key projects, and what we're planning for the week ahead and how this fits into our overall hustle structure. Okay, so same process. It's going to look the reasoning steps. I missed the final part there, but that's fine. It's going to think about the question, understand where to go from here, go into a whole bunch of different systems, and then prepare me for this meeting. So I went in understanding teams. It's gone into organizational memory. It's looked at recent activity. It's searching Jira. It's searching GitHub. It's searching Slack channels. It's putting all this pre-synthesized information together to be able to give me this output in the structure that I wanted, right? So the next one is, coming up in the future, recent wins and achievements, authentication, security improvements. We've had bug fixes, release management, the current project status of things, active in development, customer-facing problems, some wins from the team, strategic alignment things, right? Again, this can be structured, scheduled, however you like. You could have an agent to say, prep me for all of my meetings in the morning and get this type of output to really, really make meetings more and more productive and get more meaningful work done.